I recently facilitated my first design sprint, and it definitely was an experience. I've been a part of design sprints before, but I've never actually facilitated a design sprint. I've always been a participant, meaning that I would be very much involved in the workshops and really getting down into the nitty-gritty and not really being the one who runs the workshops. But that soon changed as I rose to the challenge and ended up being appointed facilitator. And to be completely honest, I was extremely nervous. I did learn a lot when I was facilitating, and I thought I'd share some tips here today to ensure the next time you end up facilitating that you're also prepared. And also what I think I need to get better at, so that maybe you can learn from that also. If you're new here, hi, what's up? I'm Gemma, and I'm a senior product designer who share tips about UX for free. If that's something you're interested in, then why not hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell to get notified every time I upload a new video. My first tip would be to prepare. I did a lot of preparation ready for the design sprint. I watched a bunch of AJ's smart videos, and I'll link them in the description below. I also read the book Sprint by Jake Knapp, but what really helped me was to write an official agenda that I could refer to on the day. I will link the prep sheet that I followed in the description below, and I'll also link the prep sheet that I put together, mainly because I thought it was a bit hard for the prep sheet that I found online, so I changed it into a format which was easy for me to read. But going through the agenda, I knew exactly what I needed to do on which day I needed to do it. Next tip, buy supplies. Believe it or not, within a design sprint, you will need a lot of supplies, and I mean post-it notes, Sharpies, pieces of paper, sticky tape, all things that you're going to need to scribble down on the day. So just remember to actually order these things before the design sprint, or get somebody within the company to order those supplies for you. They do come with a hefty price tag. I think my sprint cost about £80. After pulling all the supplies together, I purchased them all from Amazon. I'll leave them in the link in the description if you need them, but make sure you do have a range of supplies ready for your design sprint. Next up, logistics. Facilitated a design sprint, especially from my personal experience on my first one, was actually like running a full-on end-to-end project. I ended up taking on multiple roles as project manager, coordinator, workshopper, prepper, supplier. Everything fell into the category for me to do. And this was even before the design sprint even started. Even getting a list together of everyone who needed to be involved was actually quite stressful. I was pulling a cross-functional team together, which meant that I needed all different areas of people, and everyone's calendars had to line up, and it was very difficult to get all those people into one room all at the same time, all on the same day. But equally, I needed them all for 2 days. So again, bit of a nightmare, but we got through there. We had to move the design sprint back a couple of times in order to meet everyone's schedule, but after we worked out all the logistics, it ended up being quite fun. After all the logistics, the next thing on my task was to create a presentation. Now, I was unable to find a template online of how to pull a design sprint together, so I ended up creating my own. And the way that I did this was watching, like I said before, a bunch of AJ's smart videos, and kind of pulling references from them, and also pulling references from the book itself, which took quite a while, but I made sure that the presentation was put together so that people who were involved in the design sprint were able to reference the screens and reference the workshop that they were currently undertaking. This allowed me on the day to have a little bit of a break and able to prepare for the next workshop, because if anyone needed anything, they were able to refer to the screen and then only call me over if they were a little bit stuck. But this just allowed me to be a little bit more free and prepare while things were going on all at the same time. So I wasn't constantly having to tell people what they needed to do, because there was a presentation that they could refer to. Next up, time management. Design sprints are very intense. I mean, it is a 2-day full-on workshop. Unless you're a part of the design team, then it's a 4-day workshop for you. So keeping people engaged at all times can be a little bit stressful, but the way of keeping everyone engaged for me, which was tell everyone in a 15-minute time slot how long they had left. So every time I could see anyone maybe daydreaming a little bit, I would announce fully to the team that, hey, you have 20 minutes to go, you have 15 minutes to go, you have 10 minutes to go, just to keep them all engaged and make them focus on the task that they have at hand. While I was giving everyone updates, this was the time that I was preparing the next workshops. I was making sure that pieces of paper were ready for people to start scribbling on. I was prepping all the voting dots that people needed, making sure that everyone had enough post-it notes and things like that. So that allowed me to focus on my tasks while they managed to focus on their tasks, while also I was keeping an eye on the time. Next up, cross-functional teams, and these people are what become the participants. Getting people involved in the design sprint was by far the hardest task that I faced. People who are not familiar with design thinking or design sprints in general can sometimes be quite hesitant in what the value could bring to their teams. In order to combat this, I made sure to pull together cross-functional teams where there was key people involved from all different areas of the business in order for them to all work together to come up with one simple solution. Everyone had a common goal that they were working to, and they were able to bounce ideas off each other because everyone had a different area of expertise from the business. So if you can build a cross-functional team, I highly recommend you do it. Next up, engagement. Like I said previously, you are responsible for people's engagement within the design sprints. If you see people not paying attention, maybe they're looking at their phones or checking at their laptops and not really concentrating on the sprint, just make sure that you make them put their laptops away or make sure they put their phones away and tell them that they need to be more involved within the sprint. Now this can be very difficult to do, and there's a certain way that you should maybe approach this. I personally approached it as a bit of a joke to say, hey, come on everyone, let's get involved. Let's put the laptops and phones away. We don't need to concentrate on anything else. All we need to concentrate on is this today. Something like that, to not single people out, but just make it very aware that you really need people's engagements throughout the whole sprint. If you do have high stakeholders involved, their time is actually quite difficult to contain. So if they do end up running out for a meeting, then I personally decided to tell that person that they can't be involved in the sprint. So if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. And I made that quite clear at the very, very beginning. And my last one is to not be too involved. Now, this was one of the hardest steps for me personally. I love being involved in solution generating and ideation. Like, that is literally my favorite thing to do. It was very hard to take a step back and not throw my ideas into the ring, because that's not the role of the facilitator, and that's the role that I was taking. So when I saw bits missing from wireframes or from user flows or things that I knew I could slightly improve on, it was very, very difficult for me to not get involved in that. And that ran through into the next day when it was a part of the wireframing stage and a part of the user testing stage. I was one of 3 designers, so I was also responsible for building the prototypes and building the tests. So when it came to building out the final designs, it was very, very hard for me to not correct certain things or knew there was certain information missing. So a user may not understand or grasp the full concept because certain bits were missing. It was very, very hard for me to not correct it because it wasn't my design. I was just taking on the role as designer after the sprint because I had the skills in order to bring the prototype to life and also put them into testing as well, it was hard, but you know, I knew that I couldn't get involved. I knew it wasn't my place to get involved, and I knew that this was the only way that people would learn. But all in all, the design sprint went really well, and we did come out with a solid concept at the end of it. It gave us a concept that was able to answer user and business problems. It definitely wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a pretty solid one. But it did need some ironing out in certain areas. Like I said before, there were key things missing, but from a full end-to-end design sprint, it was something that came out the other side, which was really, really solid. We did learn a lot from this design sprint, but in order to pull off what we did in the real world, there would be a lot of logistics that we would need to figure out first. There would be a lot of business decisions that we need to figure out, but from a user experience point of view, that was a pretty solid concept. And that's it. If you like this video, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions about design sprints. I am really trying to grow this channel, so anything you do can help. I would be super, super grateful. I do also offer one-on-one mentoring sessions, and please check out the link in the description below if you want to check out my super peer page. And last but not least, if you want to follow me over on Instagram, you can do so here. And until next time, bye!